Hey guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg with an unboxing and first look at the new 13-inch MacBook Pro with Retina display. Now this joins the 15-inch version at the top end of Apple's MacBook lineup. So this includes a standard solid-state drive, a thinner and lighter design. It also eliminates the optical drive, and they've added the Retina display, which gives us 4 times the pixel density of the existing MacBook Pro. Now the base configuration starts off at $1699 and gets you a dual-core Core i5 2.5 GHz Ivy Bridge processor, a 128 gig SSD, 8 gigs of DDR3L RAM running at 1600 MHz. Also standard is an Intel HD Graphics 4000 integrated GPU. Now the standout feature, of course, is the Retina display with a resolution of 2560 by 1600, which is good for 227 ppi, which is even better than the 220 ppi on the 15-inch MacBook Pro. Now, cracking into the box, we get a very familiar experience here. So if we pop the lid, it reveals the MacBook Pro wrapped in a plastic envelope with a handy-dandy tab to help you lift it out of the box. And underneath that are the accessories, which includes our literature, Apple stickers, and an Apple-branded microfiber cleaning cloth for cleaning that glossy display. And we also get an extension cable for the power adapter. Now, the power adapter itself is also familiar territory here, which features the thinner MagSafe 2 connector. We also have the folding and removable wall plug, which allows you to connect the extension cable or fit international wall adapters if you need it. And when you're traveling, you can also wrap up the cable using the built-in wire management. Now onto the MacBook Pro wrapped in its plastic envelope. Just pull the tab, slide it out, and you're good to go. We also have a thin piece of paper protecting the screen during shipping. Now the new MacBook Pro is 20% thinner and nearly a pound lighter than the old MacBook Pro, and it definitely makes an impression when you handle it for the first time. Now on the left side, we'll find our MagSafe 2 power connector, 2 Thunderbolt ports, a USB 3.0 port, and a headphone jack, which also includes audio input and an optical audio output with the right adapter. Now to the side of that are dual microphones. Now on the 15-inch model, these are hidden in the speaker grills, but on the 13-inch model, they're positioned on the side. Now on the other side, we'll find our second USB 3.0 port, an HDMI connector, and an SD card slot. Now noticeably absent now is an Ethernet port, an IR sensor for a remote control, a battery status indicator, and an optical drive, which are still available on the older MacBook Pros. You can also pick up a Thunderbolt to Ethernet adapter or a USB optical drive if you still need those functions. I personally have no need for them, so I really don't miss them. Now on the bottom, we'll find a single panel held on with some pentalobular screws. And like the 15-inch model, this is not really meant to be user upgradable. The RAM is soldered to the motherboard, and many of the battery cells are glued to the chassis. So if you want more RAM, you better order it when you pick up your MacBook Pro. Now on either side of the lower body, we'll find ventilation, which also acts as structural members to increase strength. Now the hinge is also part of the ventilation system. So if we open the lid, we'll find channels cut into the aluminum unibody. These continue to operate even if the lid is closed. We also get a large glass trackpad with multi-touch, which appears to be the same size as the 15-inch model. The backlit keyboard is also borrowed from the 15-inch model, and at the top we'll find our function keys such as the screen and keyboard lighting controls, OS X function keys like mission control and launcher, media and volume controls, and the power button, which is now integrated into the keyboard instead of being a dedicated button on the body like it used to be. Now the speakers are located behind the keyboard instead of on either side of it like on the 15-inch model. As for backlighting, the keyboard will respond to the ambient light sensor and will turn on and adjust the brightness automatically. You can also override this manually on the keyboard itself. Now, the display features an edge-to-edge glass panel, which is now significantly less reflective, although it doesn't completely eliminate glare. It's just a little more manageable. At the top center of the bezel is a FaceTime HD camera as well as an LED indicator and ambient light sensor. Now the bezel of the display is so small that they had to relocate the MacBook Pro's name to the back of the lower panel. This overall design change means the 13-inch MacBook Pro is now much more compact than the old model. The display itself is still as stunning on the 13-inch model as it is on the 15-inch model. Colors are much more accurate with deep contrast and excellent off-axis viewing. If we look closely at the icons on the screen, you can see just how clear and sharp the details are with no evidence of pixelation. This also means that text is much easier to read and you can see even more detail when editing and viewing photos. Now overall, I'm pretty impressed by the 13-inch model, but I'm a little disappointed by some of the specs. It doesn't have a dedicated GPU, it doesn't have an available quad-core processor, and it has a standard 128 gig SSD, which I think is a little too small. I recommend upgrading to the 256 gig SSD, which brings pricing up to $2,000, $300 shy of the much more powerful 15-inch model. But the 13-inch model is much more portable, more compact, and the base configuration is still $600 cheaper, so it's going to be a better option for a lot of people who really want that Retina display. So I'm going to have more on the 13-inch MacBook Pro. I'm going to compare this to the 15-inch model so we get an idea of how the specs perform under real-world conditions. So stay tuned for those videos, and until then, see you in the next video.